Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome, 8th graders, to today's explainer on unlocking the true power of reading. Today, we're going to look at the incredibly valuable skill of taking notes and annotating effectively. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I promise this isn't just about doing more busy work while you read. It's actually about making sure you keep all that information you just spent your valuable time reading.
Here is our blueprint for today's lesson. We'll start with why take notes, move into the biblical foundation in Write the Vision Plainly, and then open up your annotation toolkit. Next, we'll look at putting it into practice, outline your turn for homework, and wrap up with the Godly Learner philosophy. Let's get started. Section 1. Why take notes? The purpose of marking up your reading.
I want you to imagine this completely frustrating feeling. You've just finished a really tough reading assignment, you close the book, and you realize you remember absolutely nothing. I mean, why does that happen? Well, reading without taking notes is exactly like going to the grocery store without a list. Think about it. If you just wander those aisles with no plan, you're guaranteed to forget the most important things you actually went there for. When you read without taking notes, you're just wandering aimlessly through words.
So, the big idea here is that we have to move from passive reading to active tracking. By actively interacting with the text, you identify what matters early on. You're catching those key points, those big questions, and connections in real time. And honestly, the absolute best part, it makes your future writing assignments, your classroom discussions, and your test prep incredibly easy, mostly because all the heavy lifting is already done.
Section 2. Write the Vision Plainly, the biblical foundation for taking notes.
Here's a little secret for you. Note-taking isn't just some clever trick invented by English teachers to give you extra work. Not at all. It's actually a timeless principle of wisdom. Habakkuk 2:2 tells us, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it." Writing things down plainly is literally a God-given blueprint for bringing clarity to your thoughts. You are recording the vision of what you're learning right now, so you can actually run with it later.
Section 3. Your Annotation Toolkit. How to actually mark your text. All right, it's time to hand you your Master Builder's tools. If you're going to interact with your reading, you need to know exactly how to leave your mark efficiently. These simple symbols are going to save you massive amounts of time. You really don't have to write exhausting, long sentences in the margins every time you have a thought. Instead, just drop a question mark when you're confused. Put a star or an asterisk next to an important point so your eye jumps right to it later. And throw down an exclamation point for a surprising fact. It's a rapid-fire way to capture your reactions without slowing down your reading momentum.
Beyond those symbols, let's talk about the specific actions you should be taking on the page. You'll want to underline or highlight key ideas, definitely circle unfamiliar words so you know to look them up later, and write really quick, short notes in the margins. But hey, remember this one rule. Your annotations have to capture a main idea or a direct reaction. Do not just highlight everything until your page is glowing neon yellow. Every single mark you make should have a specific purpose.
Oh, and we definitely need to quickly cover a golden rule here. If you are reading a library book or a textbook you don't own, please do not mark it up directly. We always want to respect our shared resources. So instead, just stick Post-it notes right onto the page or keep a dedicated reading journal right beside you to capture all your brilliant thoughts.
Okay, so let's move on and see how this builds into your actual assignments. What are you supposed to do after you finish reading? Well, step 1 is to review those raw notes you just took. Step 2 is to organize them into neat categories, like separating out your main ideas, your supporting evidence, and your questions. And finally, step 3, you use these newly organized materials to build much stronger, smarter responses for your essays and tests.
Section 4. Putting it into practice. See it in action across different genres.
So let's actually see how to build with these tools depending on what kind of text you're dealing with. Notice how different genres require a slightly different focus. In fiction, for example, you might underline a description of a dark, stormy setting and just jot down "sets mood" in the margin. Boom! Instantly you've connected the setting to the overall tone of the story. In nonfiction, you might highlight a statistic and write "supports claim" right beside it, which reminds you exactly why that fact is so essential to the author's argument. And in poetry, you could circle a repeated phrase and write "theme," so you know that repetition is pointing straight to the poem's deeper meaning.
Section 5. Your turn. Homework. Your assignment for today's lesson.
All right, 8th graders, it is time for you to take the wheel and put these Master Builder tools to work on your own text. Here are your 5 specific homework tasks for today. First up, I want you to annotate 1 full page of your current book.
Second, make sure to use at least 3 of those different annotation symbols we just talked about. Third, highlight one main idea on that page and briefly explain why it matters right there in the margin. Fourth, write a margin note that makes a personal connection to the text. And fifth, make a list of 3 questions derived from your annotations. You now possess the absolute perfect toolkit to get this done easily and effectively.
Section 6. The Godly Learner Philosophy. Why Academic Excellence Needs Biblical Morality.
As we wrap up today's explainer, we need to step back and ask ourselves the big question. Why do we pursue academic knowledge and sharpen these skills in the first place? Well, at HeroesMart Academy, we intertwine biblical morality with education for a very specific reason. We deeply believe that education without morality can actually hurt. Think about it. Knowledge and intelligence alone, they simply make you more capable. But if you're highly capable without godly morality guiding your actions, that capability can actually be used for the wrong things. True intelligence must be used to help us make wise, God-honoring choices.
We anchor this truth firmly in Scripture. Romans 8, verses 6 through 7 teaches us this. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Gathering a bunch of worldly knowledge without a solid spiritual foundation just leads nowhere good. But keeping your mind spiritually minded, staying focused on the things of God, that is what actually leads to genuine life and peace.
So, my challenge to you today, as an 8th grade student stepping up your game, is to apply this philosophy not just to note-taking and annotating, but to every single subject you study this year. We absolutely want you to pursue academic excellence. Just make sure you do it while keeping your mind fully centered on God, on truth, on wisdom, and on making righteous choices.
And I'll leave you with this one final thought. As you read and annotate this week, are you going to merely gather facts on a page, or will you actively use your newfound knowledge to build a life of God-honoring wisdom? The choice is completely yours, and you've got the tools to make it happen. Have a fantastic time with your assignment, and I will catch you in the next explainer.